Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where we bring you the latest developments that most global media ignore, but you can't afford to. Today's update goes far beyond routine financial headlines. While much of the world is focused on elections, conflict, and celebrity noise, something extraordinary is taking shape in Iraq. A story that could quietly shift not just regional economics but global perceptions. Iraq is no longer waiting on the sidelines of global finance. With growing urgency and strategy, the country is pushing forward with its accession into the World Trade Organization, WTO, and it's much closer than most people realize. Iraq's fourth WTO Working Party session may sound like a procedural meeting, but in reality it's a major signal. When Iraq's delegation said, "Just because we're on our fourth meeting doesn't mean we'll need 20, it wasn't just a statement. It was a quiet but confident signal of momentum. Iraq has passed the phase of just answering technical questions. They are now responding with clarity, structure, and the kind of readiness that often precedes final membership offers. For a country still rebuilding its global reputation, this pace is nothing short of remarkable. Many nations spend decades trying to join the WTO. Iraq has surged forward in record time. Trade analysts watching behind the scenes have confirmed that interest from WTO member nations is strong. Why? Because a stable and globally connected Iraq benefits more than just the Iraqi people. It opens new trade corridors across the Middle East, invites foreign investment, and helps anchor an entire region historically plagued by instability. Global corporations, regional partners, and even small business exporters in Iraq stand to gain from this transformation. But Iraq's economic ambitions are not being built in theory. On the ground, major infrastructure is already taking shape. The Development Road Project, a bold $17 billion zero-cents initiative, is designed to connect southern Iraq's port cities to European markets through new railways and highways. This isn't just a logistics upgrade, it's a reshaping of regional trade architecture. For the first time in decades, Iraq will be positioned not just as a resource provider, but as a commercial transit hub. It's vision-driven economics, less about oil, more about connectivity. Still, infrastructure alone doesn't secure WTO entry. Legal and regulatory reforms must follow. And Iraq is delivering on those too. New legislation is aligning national standards with WTO guidelines. That includes transparency laws, improved protections for international investors, and frameworks that encourage fair competition across markets. This is especially important for a country that has long suffered from the effects of corruption, opaque governance, and politically driven economic distortion. Iraq is proving it's serious about building a reliable system that global markets can trust. None of this has happened by accident. For years, Iraq endured sanctions, conflict, and political turmoil. Yet quietly and often without international recognition, its institutions have been rebuilding. From financial regulators to parliamentary lawmakers, a reform movement has taken hold. And now it's paying off. The result is a country that's ready to reintroduce itself to the world, not with bombs or bailouts, but with trade, legislation, and long-term partnerships. That's what makes Iraq's WTO progress so profound. It's not just about economics, it's about identity. For decades, Iraq has been portrayed as a country defined by war, but with this transformation, it's redefining itself and sending a signal that it no longer wants to be seen through the lens of the past. Iraq wants a seat at the international table, not out of pity, but through performance. It's saying, we are rebuilding, we are participating, and we are ready. For the Middle East, Iraq's entry into the WTO could have ripple effects across the region. Economic integration has long been discussed but rarely achieved. Iraq's progress could be the catalyst others need to break through their own political deadlocks. A connected Iraq, one that trades with its neighbors and the broader global economy, might push the region away from confrontation and closer to cooperation. Trade often builds what politics cannot. If Iraq continues on this trajectory, it may set an example that peace and prosperity can be built with policy, not just security forces. That said, obstacles remain. Internal political disagreements still create friction, security concerns haven't entirely disappeared, and institutional capacity in some areas is still under strain. But here's the important distinction. Iraq is no longer waiting for the perfect conditions. It's moving forward anyway, and that alone is progress worth respecting. For those looking only at headlines, it's easy to miss what WTO membership could really mean for Iraq. But if you take a deeper look, the picture becomes much clearer and far more exciting. Entry into the World Trade Organization isn't just symbolic. It means integration into global systems that influence everything from agriculture to finance. Once inside, Iraq won't just be subject to international standards, it'll be helping shape them, and that marks a new era of influence. One of the most underestimated impacts of this move is on Iraq's younger generation. In a country where over 60% of the population is under 25, WTO accession could provide the opportunity structure that's been missing for decades. With access to international markets, young entrepreneurs can create products not just for local use, but for global demand. Iraq's tech developers, artisans, engineers, and small business owners are watching these changes closely, and many are already positioning themselves to participate in a new economic landscape. Beyond business, the cultural shift could be just as important. Iraqis are used to looking inward, focused on rebuilding their own institutions after years of outside interference and internal instability. But this new phase requires a mindset shift, from survival to strategy. It's about seeing the nation as a contributor to global progress, not just a recipient of foreign aid or investment. Iraqi citizens will soon travel, trade, and think with the confidence that comes from being part of something larger. The Prime Minister and his administration have emphasized that WTO entry will not come at the cost of sovereignty. Iraq is not looking to sell off its future for short-term gains. Instead, it's insisting on favorable terms that protect domestic industries while still inviting external collaboration. That balance is key, and it's why negotiations are being conducted carefully, not hastily. The goal is to avoid becoming dependent on any one nation or entity while maximizing economic opportunity across multiple sectors. In this context, the recent WTO Working Party meeting was a watershed moment. Iraq's delegation, backed by senior government officials and economic experts, presented updates that clearly impressed member nations. Reports from observers suggest that Iraq has now checked off more than 80% of its required commitments. That puts it on track for potential accession as early as late 2025 or early 2026, depending on the final review rounds and schedule. But even before full WTO entry is finalized, Iraq is already seeing the benefits of its reforms. Investment inquiries are rising. New bilateral trade agreements are being discussed with countries like Turkey, India, China, and even Germany. Iraq is no longer viewed solely through the lens of oil. Foreign investors are paying attention to agriculture, construction, tech, tourism, and even education. It's a sign that confidence is growing, not just in Iraq's economy, but in its governance. Former President Trump's foreign policy often emphasized deals and bilateral trade arrangements, and while Iraq wasn't a spotlight country in that agenda, some of the frameworks established during his administration paved the way for current global interactions. In today's climate, these older foundations are being built upon with a broader multilateral approach, especially as Iraq looks to work with a wide network of trade allies. That matters a great deal, because Iraq isn't just opening its markets, it's redefining how it interacts with the world. In doing so, it creates new relationships and new obligations. For everyday Iraqis, that means more products, better access to quality goods, and a legal system that starts to resemble global norms. For international businesses, it means Iraq is no longer a red flag risk, but a green light with growing opportunity. Of course, some critics remain cautious. They argue that Iraq's internal tensions could derail the process, or that global powers might manipulate the terms for their own gain. But that's where international oversight and Iraq's new transparency laws come into play. The government is building mechanisms to protect its people from exploitation while still embracing fair trade. It's not a flawless plan, but it's the most forward-thinking one Iraq has attempted in decades. This move is not happening in isolation. It's part of a wider strategy that includes currency reform, anti-corruption efforts, improved banking regulation, and legal modernization. Each piece supports the other. When Iraq modernizes its trade structure, it strengthens its financial institutions. When it attracts foreign businesses, it puts pressure on public officials to deliver better services. It's a loop of accountability that wasn't possible before, but now is beginning to take shape. If you're someone holding IQD or watching the revaluation movement closely, this WTO progress is a key piece of the puzzle. No serious investor ignores a country's trade status, and for Iraq to take a seat at the global economic table, it must demonstrate credibility and sustainability. WTO accession is not just another milestone. It's the doorway to a new era of global participation and value recognition for the. So as the calendar moves closer to the next WTO review, eyes around the world are paying attention, and so should you. This isn't just about what Iraq has achieved, it's about what it's becoming. And at Iraqi Dinar News, we'll be here to track every development, every negotiation, and every breakthrough moment. Subscribe to stay ahead of the curve. Comment below with your take. Do you believe Iraq will be a full WTO member by the end of 2025? Are you seeing signs of this transformation in your region or bank? Let's keep the conversation rooted in facts and strategy, not hype. Thank you for tuning in. More major updates are coming. Until next time, stay informed, stay cautious, and stay focused.